welcome to another episode of Shooting
the Shit with Rachel Ann
and Neal Young. So we're talking all things real estate photography business growth, mindset, and getting it done. Here come your favorite true entrepreneurs, Rachel Ann and Neal Young, shooting the shit.
I have a ferret on the Like if we're kind of in a slump, like what kind of things do you do?
Talking about a boob light.
Straddling a power line.
Nice photo.
Ooh, I need that.
I'm like red right now because I'm embarrassed. I go like this. I love it.
Come in.
Sure, use your podcast voice.
Over here, I'm pitting out.
Drone's like flipping to the ground.
That's a great callback.
Chit-chatting.
Is that what you call that?
Hey! Rach, who do you love?
HD Photo Hub.
Today's episode is brought to you by HD Photo Hub.
The platform real estate photographers trust.
And so do we, because Rach and I both use it on a daily basis.
Check it out.
Check it out. Welcome back, everybody. Exciting episode today. Last episode, we had Tony Dunham on, and we were talking about stuff, and we actually even rambled a little bit into the video side of things, and Rachel was like, hang on. Next week, Alex is coming on, and he's going to talk to us about everything video. So this week, we've got them both. We got the dream team from Mosaic Studio, and they're going to talk about all things video. Today is the main focus. Right, Rach?
Yes, I am so excited for this one because I want to up my video game, and I'm hoping it'll not only help me, but also help some of you out there as well to just understand the business of video marketing, your mindset, gear, all that stuff. So we're going to dive in and just pelt Alex with a million questions. Hopefully he can handle it.
Totally. Thanks for having us back, guys. Super excited to have Alex on this one as well. He's the video genius mastermind behind all of our videos, and super excited to share some insights.
Yeah. So you guys teamed up. You were the photographer and he is the video expert, right? So you guys came together and joined forces to create Mosaic Studio. And now you guys are business partners.
That's right. It all started in a coffee shop here in Portland.
It sounds like the beginning of a sitcom.
Well, it's actually really funny too, because last night I was texting him. I'm like, dude, isn't that crazy? We just like randomly met up and then we're just like, this whole thing has changed.
I think we knew each other for like maybe 10 days. And then I proposed the question, like, do you want to merge our companies and try to go for something a lot bigger? And he was super down. And yeah, it's been a wild ride the past 10 months, but I tell Tony all the time, it's the best decision I ever made.
That's awesome. I love that. So
cool. So, well, give us a little of the backstory. So, Alex, what were you focused on prior to you guys coming together?
So I had my own company here in Portland, real estate photography, videography, basically a full service marketing agency here. And I was trying to do it all alone. I did mostly luxury properties at the time. It was really important for me to just keep improving. And so I did that for about a year, made a somewhat good name for myself in the industry. Yeah, I've focused on everything from standard real estate photos to architectural photography to videography. Those have been like my main focuses. And I mean, to jump back before I even got in the industry, I went to school at University of Oregon, played lacrosse there, got a head injury my junior year, was basically told I couldn't play lacrosse again. So I had all this energy and all this drive, but nowhere to put it. Going to school with a head injury wasn't the best. So I made the decision, okay, I'm going to drop out and I'm going to try to start a business, which is a wild decision looking back at it. Probably not the best decision, but yeah, I created a couple different businesses that didn't really pan out. And then I created one that was it's a crazy story. Like I made a dog page for my dog and got 10,000 followers in 10 months and had all of these pet brands reaching out to me wanting to work with me. Being fresh out of college, I had no money. And so this company offered me, more than I could refuse at the time. And so I jumped on full board with them. The company's name was Petsby. It was basically an app for pets where pet lovers would share photos of their pets. And so what I would do I would create ads. I would push the ads out. We would track the progress, and it was a startup environment. So I was there for about 4 or 5 years, and being in a startup, you are moving so fast all the time. And so I learned a ton about business. I got to the point where, I was there 4 or 5 years and I just figured it was time to make a jump into the next chapter of my life. And that's when I saw a video on YouTube. I can't remember, I think the channel was Upwork or Upsell or something. And it was a video about this couple in, I think, the greater Seattle area. I think they're Bellevue, and they were just talking about their real estate photography business and how successful they were in that. I said, oh, that's interesting. I've always loved real estate. Growing up, my mom would flip houses. So as a kid, I was always in these houses knocking down walls, and she would go to these properties and just see so much potential in them. And in my head, I was like, well, this place is it's a crap hole. So she had a very unique eye and vision. She could walk into anywhere and be like, I'll change this, this, and the third. And so I think that's initially where my interest for real estate started. And then after seeing that video, I'm like, oh, you can actually do pretty well creating content in real estate. And so that's when I said, screw it, I'm gonna make the jump. And that's when I started my first business, which I worked at for a year and a couple months. And then I met Tony, and he basically filled all the gaps that I wasn't great in. So Tony had been in sales for 15 years. He's through and through a networker. He's always on his phone talking to people. I hate talking to people. Like I try to stay. I like creating. I like creating content and kind of staying in my own lane. And it just filled that gap perfectly. And so we talked, and I was like, dude, if I can focus solely on creative and you can focus solely on the business, then we can create something really cool here. Now it's kind of transitioned into Tony now does our photos and I do all the video work, because even me trying to do all the creative, so all the photos, all the video, like it's just too much. And Tony's become really, really good at what he does. And yeah, I have full confidence in him to do a good job, and he's been doing a great job. So that's kind of the long story short of how it all came to be what it is now.
Love that. So how did you learn how to do real estate media? You said you'd only been doing it for like a year and a few months before you met Tony. So how did you educate yourself?
I went online. I went to YouTube University,
Nice.
did my tenure there, and then no. So before I wanted to sell my product, I wanted to make sure I was really good at it. So what I did, funny enough, is my mom had just renovated this condo about a mile and a half from where I lived, and I called up. I wasn't living in the best place at the time, so I didn't want to practice there. I wasn't very inspired shooting my own house. So I called her up and I was like, hey, can I come over every day for the next 2 weeks to practice? And so week one, I went over there and I just took photos. And so day one, I came home, I looked at all the photos, kind of looked through everything, saw what I did well, saw what I didn't, compared it to people who were already super successful in the industry. And then I went back the next day and did it again, and then got all the photos edited and then looked at them again. And then I did it again. And I did that for, I want to say the photos were 10 days straight of just taking photos of the same place every single day,
Wow.
going home, criticizing my work, going back, fixing that, finding another issue. And so I did that 10 days straight. By the 10th day, I was pretty decent. Like I was looking at photos on the MLS of luxury properties. What angles are they taking? What millimeters are they at, etc.? What's the lighting? Everything. So I did that for 10 days. What's that?
I said you're a maniac. Like,
Yeah.
just to like jump in real quick. I think that I've always been a person in the same mindset where it's like, if I want to be good at something, I'm going to put in the time and be like crazy about it. But Alex is like on a whole other level. Like he doesn't settle for anything except like greatness. And I knew that about him already, but like now I've seen it, like we go out and play golf. He's just like picking it up so much faster, and he's so much more like diligent and has these like crazy abilities I don't understand, but it's pretty cool to watch.
I think it's quite obvious at this point that I have like a very addictive personality. And if I put that towards, you know, productive things, I can do really well. And, the opposite, I can do really bad. So I've learned that about myself throughout the years. And yeah, back to what I was saying was, so I did that 10 days straight, to get to a point where I felt really good about selling that as a product. Because I don't want to sell anything that I'm not proud of. Then I did the same thing for video. And then I did the same thing for drone. And then I did the same thing for Matterport every single day. So I just broke it up into 7 to 10 day periods where I would just do it over and over and over until I got to a point that I was happy with.
Like a samurai.
Yeah, yeah. After I did that, I started looking for editors. When I think I have the personality when I do something, I want to be the best at what I do. And that can work to my own detriment in many ways. But I reached out to about, I want to say 35 or 40 different photo editors, sent them all the same photos. So I think it was a set of 3 to 5 photos. Sent it to 35 or 40, which I scraped off the real estate photography Facebook group, which I'm sure everyone here is in. Sent it to all those people, got them back, and I went through, found my favorite 5, then did a different set, sent it to those different 5, and then I narrowed it down to 3, sent a different set to 3, and then by the end, I found the editor that I've been with this whole time. And I wouldn't say his name, but I don't want anyone to take him. He's mine.
We understand.
Loyal to me. But yeah, he's amazing. And my life has changed so much. His life has changed so much. He's finally, I asked him when I started, I'm like, what's your goal? Like, where do you want to be in 1 to 3 years? And he gave me an X dollar amount. And I said, if you stick with me, I will get you there. And I firmly believed it at the time. And just a couple months, we hit that number. And so that was a very proud moment for me, because as much as I like doing well, I like seeing other people's lives change around. Like that brings me the most joy in the world.
Dude, and that's why it takes me extra photos. I'm just trying to help that guy out.
That's a conversation for another time. But yeah, so that's really it. I mean, that's how I got started in the industry, and then yeah, and that's once again, that's the short version of it. I could make this a 4-hour podcast if I wanted to.
I will say another little bit here. So when I met Alex, my understanding of where I was in the industry was different than where I actually am, right? So I thought that my photos were pretty good. They weren't, but now they're pretty good. But I was trying to get into the video space, and so I started looking at like local people in the area, like who could I meet up with, whose videos do I like, how can I, try to make a new friend and like learn how to do this? Because I was trying to shoot videos at my house, and I would shoot them all the time, and it was just like not clicking for me, and I couldn't understand it, which is still in some ways the case, because I try and I'm just not there. But it was just so cool to like learn about Alex and his passion and like the way he approaches things like this, because when you're obsessed like that and you really see the end goal in mind, you have a different like work ethic. And I think that he has a lot of natural skills that help him a lot, but also just like his endurance to like do things poorly until you can figure it out. And like he's just like relentless with it. So it's pretty cool to watch. And we've met a lot of people that are like, a lot of people are just like, how do you do that? Or like how, like people that have been doing video for a long time don't understand it. So it's just, there's a lot to it. And we can obviously get into some of those specifics. He's built different. It's crazy.
I picture Alex on your first meeting going for coffee, Alex like shaking your hand and going, that wasn't quite right. Let's try 7 more times. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's accurate. That's accurate. I mean, I can't even deny it at this point. And it still happens. Tony will get back with a set of photos. He'd be like so excited to show me. And I'll be like, yeah, man, like I love this one, this one, this one, this one. But and then I go into all the criticism, and he's like, dude, can't you just say I'm super good one time? And I don't know.
It's like
up all night, like at home trying to figure this out, so I've learned so much. Honestly, I've learned so much in general, but like I've learned so much about, the technical side of things. I think I was thinking about this the other day. I really like photography because it is, and videography, even though I'm not that good at it, but I love it all because it's like technical. I love like technical stuff. You gotta get it just right. Otherwise, it's just off by that much, and you can see it, and you start seeing it in everything you do.
I think we all, once you get into it, you start to see too some people's errors when you see like a video or something, and you're like, they didn't shoot that at least 60 frames or 120 frames. I can see it
Right,
skipping. Like,
right.
Oh yeah, I see that a lot actually. I see it on Instagram a lot when people even just try to post like a quick little video and their frame rate's not right. It's like,
mhm. Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah. Or their
Yeah, it's like,
shutter's
is that
wrong for their frame
intentional
rate.
or yeah, is
yeah,
that artistic?
yeah.
No, it's
Well,
good
that's
that
good.
you have someone that can really critique your work because that is going to just push you and make you better. So
Yeah,
just
totally.
remember, take it with a
Well,
grain of
and I know
salt.
that like this is a
Helping.
video focused podcast, but I think that's another thing that Alex and I have a really unique relationship. Like we can be kind of hard on each other and we can be like have tough conversations and it's not like we both know where it's coming from, so it's not like weird at all. Like
That's
because you're
great.
gonna have those things and you want a partner that has the same mentality as you where it's like I'm only saying this because we want to be better. We want to be the best.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, and yeah, I mean, I tell Tony all the time, the last thing I want is to be on a team full of yes men. Hurt my feelings because that's what I need to get better. And I think that is the culture we're trying to develop here at Mosaic is you need to have thick skin because we're trying to achieve big things. And so, if you take everything personally, you're probably not going to learn as much as someone who doesn't take it personally and actually reflects on what's being said to you. And it's human instinct, it's when someone critiques you, you get defensive. But it's really important to break that cycle because that's how you fast track growth.
Yeah. It's
that's
interesting
so
with the
true.
dynamic because I talk to the clients a lot more. And so Alex will like produce this awesome video and he's just like, did they like it? Or like, 'cause, like you don't always want to hear like the fixes and stuff. And so I try to like communicate as much as possible. And like 10 out of 10 times they're like, this is amazing. Every once in a while we get a little thing where they're like, hey, can you show every single room? And we're like, no, we started off on the wrong foot then because like we need the creative ability to like make this like showcase this the right way. And if you want every single room, then maybe
Yeah,
not. Probably
it
not.
might be a real snooze fest, right?
You just
Yeah.
hire Focused Media Collective and we'll do that for you. Another reason why I'm excited for this podcast today. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so let's shift into gear. I know there's a lot of people out there who are curious what kind of gear you use to create. If you guys have not, first off, if you haven't seen their videos, can you tell us your website and your Instagram handle so people can go check you out real quick before we
Yeah,
dive into this?
for Instagram's going to be the place with all of our stuff. That is mosaicstudio.us. That's our
Definitely
website
want
as
to
well. So you can, but Instagram has all of our stuff. If you want to see our work, that's where you should go.
Thank you. Okay, so what kind of gear do you guys use for video?
For video, we use a Mavic 3 Pro, which I hope to upgrade soon, but I don't really need to. Anyway, so A7S3 for video, that's our camera body. I run a 2-lens setup, so a 12-24 2.8 G Master, and then a 35-150 2.8, or I think it's a 2-2.8 Tamron, which I
Mhm.
freaking love. And DJI Ronin RS4. We have the DJI, I think they're the Mic 2s with lavaliers on them. What else do we run for video? I think that's pretty much everything.
Mhm.
It's very simple. It's a light, I hate swapping lenses like 5 times during a shoot. Nothing like aggravates me more. So I found a system that works for me, and I don't have any intention of getting anything else because I have everything I need with that setup.
Great. I've
Sounds
got
like
a
it.
couple questions for you right off the bat, gear wise. Okay.
Mhm.
I've got two. I'll tell you them up top, and you can answer whatever you want. But the first is, I'm sure everybody wants to know. You've got a great drone already, the 3 Pro. Why are you considering upgrading? What do you need that you don't have already? And should other people upgrade, do you think? Or can they get away with something cheaper? And then the other question is going to be about your lens combo, because you have that 35-150, which is a very long telephoto. I'm curious if you're switching a gimbal setup for that, or are you just hand holding that for some of your shots? Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. And that reminds me too, actually, because I forgot to mention, so I have a Mavic 3 Pro. I also have a handmade 5-inch FPV drone that I've started using with a GoPro Hero 12 on it. So I'm trying to incorporate more FPV into our videos. And then I wasn't looking to upgrade the Mavic necessarily. It was more I wanted to get an FPV drone, a 3-inch that I could fly indoors, so through houses for
Hmm.
shots.
Yep.
And I think you know, with the FPV stuff, it's really important to stay tasteful with it. I don't personally, and this is just my own, this is going to make some people mad, but I don't like the one shot fly through videos. They bore the hell out of me. I know people love them, but I am not one of those. I do think they have a purpose in video, but I don't think that's for the whole video. I think they need to be tasteful additions, just like hyperlapses are tasteful additions. So that hopefully answers your question there. And then, so the 35 to 150 telephoto lens question, you
Yeah, sure.
say that again
So,
for me? I'm like,
well, so you mentioned that you're like, I don't like to switch lenses a lot, right? So you've
Oh,
got your 12 to, I think it was 24 2.8, which, I usually will shoot with a similar lens, and that's all I do 95, 98% of the time. Once in a while, I'll break out an 85 or something if it's really something high end and I go a little extra credit.
yeah.
But I'll just zoom into 35 or whatever. So I'm curious your usage for the 35 to 150. And I'm also curious if you're ever trying to use that on your gimbal, or are you just using that for a couple handheld shots or something like that? How are you using that for your real estate stuff?
yeah, so that's on the gimbal almost all the time, unless I'm running a hyperlapse. Really, it's just the versatility factor with it. So, like, let me give you an example of why I need something that deep. So say I'm like out front and there's one bush in front of the house, right? There's just one bush and it's like
They're
50 feet away
obvious.
from the house. And I want to get something in the foreground
Hmm.
to
Yep.
create that like exaggerated movement and also make the shot more interesting, right?
Mm.
So that gives me the option in any situation in a house, I can catch something in the foreground and have my subject perfectly framed the way I want it. Because say I only have a 50, but it should be an 85 for the composition I'm looking for, but I still want that thing in the foreground. I don't have that option. So it's the versatility factor. We use it a lot for hyperlapses too, catching the sun falling, catching the moon falling. Yeah, and I honestly I find myself, I'd say 90% of the time in the 50 millimeter to 85, 90, 100. And then the other situations are kind of outliers. But yeah, I mean that thing is so heavy though. Like on the gimbal,
Yeah,
it's a
especially.
big,
I
it's
was
a
gonna
big
say
lens.
too that there's also like a difference in our shot list, and so we will go through and shoot all the wides with one lens, and then come back and switch, and then shoot all the details with another one. So we're not walking through the house and then like pivoting to shoot a detail of a sink. Like we kind of break it up so you're
Mm.
not just switching back and forth all the time. It's more like, a play and shoot where you have all your wides and then you go and shoot all your details and then you switch and shoot all your verticals for a reel. And like while I'm in the other room, like setting up a hyperlapse on my camera. So we're kind of like making it the most efficient process instead of having to go back and forth all the time. So it doesn't require a lot of different, changing of things. It's just the shot list.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, the other reason I was kind of curious about the gimbal is because with that lens too, when you zoom, it extends quite a bit. And so when you're on a gimbal, you know that when you extend like that, you can totally throw off your whole balance. So I was curious if you did, like I have a 28 to 75 that does that a little bit, and I'll cheat for an event where I need that, where I want to be able to do both, and I'll just balance it for 50 millimeters instead of 28 or
Mhm.
a 75 on my Tamron. So I'm curious if you do something like that with that lens, but I'm not sure if it would work with that or if you just have to rebalance when you go back and do your second round.
So my process is quite similar to yours. So I'll balance it about like 70. I think 70 is where I usually balance it. And when you're balancing it, and this is going to be helpful to all the video people watching, and something that's really helped me that I've only figured out in the past couple months is when you're balancing it, you want to do the normal calibration, right? So that's at your home screen in the top left, calibrate it normally at the mid range of that lens. And then additional to that, you want to go in and do gimbal auto check calibration. So you go into your settings, you go into gimbal auto check calibration, and then you start a new calibrate. So I calibrate twice, and every time I do that, my camera level is perfect. Like it is perfect, and the gimbal feels so dialed. With that being said, if I do punch in all the way to 150, which is the deepest that lens goes and the farthest it extends, I have to be very conscious of my movement and make sure I'm not doing anything that's too crazy. I'm not walking around when I'm at that focal range. I keep it very, very steady. I've had a lot of practice now, and so I've gotten pretty good at keeping that lens super steady. But I'm using my body and my wrist to create the movement. I'm not really moving my arms. So it's like I spread my this is gonna sound weird. I spread my legs.
Yes.
I spread my legs. I shift all my weight to one side of my body, right? So I'm like all the way over here, my legs are spread. And then I'm just using my body to move the camera instead of my arms.
Yeah, way more stable, right? Yeah.
100%. You just have way more control with your body. And if you're just doing a wrist movement with that, that's how you're going to have the most control. I've learned this through messing it up a million times. So
What I'm visualizing when you're talking about this, I imagine the shot you're doing too, like for that bush example you were talking about. I'm imagining you're really just seeing the slightest movement of that bush in the foreground, so you really don't have to move a whole lot. You just want that subtle movement, which is very cinematic, right, in the foreground.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like the foreground is moving a lot faster than it really is too. That's to build on what you said. It really doesn't take much. But what is really important is when you're using a lens like that to do both calibrations. So the normal calibration at your home screen, and then go find gimbal auto check calibration, because that one is an absolute game changer for getting steady footage.
Your gimbal you're using that you're talking about this, what was your gimbal again?
RS4 Pro.
Okay. And then so you have that little LCD screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you're talking about that on that screen, you have like that main little calibration there that you can click on, right?
Yep, top left-hand corner, right when you turn it on. And then the second calibration, you swipe down from the top on your gimbal. You'll see a little circle. That's your settings button. Go to settings. You scroll down that menu, and you'll see gimbal auto check calibration. One thing I'd like to add too, because this probably will help other video guys. When you're calibrating in the normal calibration, hold the mount on your camera. Hold it down to the table. And because when it's moving the whole, you just want it to move each individual motor, not the base of the camera. So hold your camera down when you're calibrating it, and that way you get the most accurate calibration.
That's smart. Yeah, because sometimes it jumps around a little bit. That's really smart. Yeah.
I think the other thing too for people, I mean, it's challenging because there's so many different pieces of the video puzzle. I think that what Alex does really well too is he like really just focuses on the framing. He's just looking at the framing so much. So like you can walk however you want to walk or whatever feels normal to you and gets the least amount of jitters and stuff. But like if you really look at the framing first, then you can like practice your movements over and over again until you figure out your little path. When we first started talking, I was like, how the hell do you do these day to nights? Because I tried to do it a couple times and it was just like not right. He would like take a photo of the frame and know exactly where he's at. And he's like, yeah, you just put rocks down, dude. I'm like, what do you mean you put rocks down? He would like put rocks on the ground of like where he's stepping and then take a photo with his camera, with his phone on like the framing, and then know that you're at like 16 or 25 or wherever you're at. And then just redo that exact same shot at night, which is still with the whatever you want to do. You could freaking put like spray paint down, it wouldn't matter. It's still really freaking hard to do to make it like perfectly the same, which I still can't do.
No, that's cool. Can you guys, just for people who have no idea, can you guys explain the day to night transition? And it's kind of very popular right now.
Yeah, so day to nights, the bane of my existence. So
everybody wants them and nobody wants to pay for it.
Yeah,
that's my other question about scheduling and cost too. Yes.
Gosh, yeah. No, I mean they're a super cool effect. I still really like them. But part of me feels like they're getting played out. But if you remain tasteful with them, they're cool. With day to nights, the most important thing is, like Tony said, like figure out where you're starting, what you're walking towards. So how I do it, my process, say I'm doing a day to night, will show up during the day, obviously. I'll take a shot.
Start there for sure.
So I'll set a rock where I start. I'll set a rock to where I'm going. I'm a Neanderthal.
He just drives around with a bunch of rocks in his truck.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll set up one where I start, where I walk towards, and then before I even take the shot, I'll get the composition right in my camera and make sure, okay, this is the composition I want for this shot. And then I'll look at my camera, make sure everything's lined up good. And on your cameras, and it's probably the same for Canon, Fuji, anyone, you can add grid lines and you can add the level balance in camera. And so usually I'll match those lines up with a part of the house. So if there's a window in the middle of the house, I'll match one of those lines up and just, give myself a point of reference when I go back to take the shot again. So I'll set up the composition, find a spot in the camera where I see a line match up with something vertically and horizontal. And I might even just adjust the composition just slightly so one of those lines matches it. Then I'll pull out my phone, I'll take a picture of my monitor at my starting composition. Take a picture of that, and then I'll reach over the camera.
Yeah, probably can't see it.
Yep, there you go.
You
There's a
did?
visual. Nope, but
All right, cool. Never mind.
A for effort. Yeah, and so then I'll just take a picture of what millimeter am I at, because if you get that wrong, then there's no day to night for you. And then I will, so I'll take a picture of the monitor, the millimeter, and then I'm good. And then I'll take my shot and I will forget about it until nighttime. And my rocks better be there when I get back, because that'll fuck it all up. And can I curse on here? Did I break
Yeah,
the
you're
rule?
fine.
That's it. Podcast's over now.
That's a
Kicked
wrap.
off.
For more, buy my course. Okay, so yeah, so then I'll go back to it at night, and sometimes like cars, like the rocks will be in the road, but they're small, but a car will hit one, and then I'll be like, no way I put it over there. Like, no way I put it over there. And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I did put it over there, take the shot, bring it back to editing and be like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, that's my process with data nights. They're very time consuming. That's something you're going to want to factor into your pricing if you have clients that might be interested. But yeah, I mean, at this point,
I was gonna say, then you line them up, right? So you got the same exact shot.
Are we talking about editing too?
Well, just
like
a little
how
bit
to do
about
them.
it. Yeah, so like once you get there, then you can mask it over the top, and with your transition, have it go day to night, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's in editing. So like you stack them on top of each other. I'm on Premiere and After Effects. I do them all in After Effects now, but you can do them in Premiere and they still look great. But yeah, you basically take your day clip and your night clip, you put them on top of each other, you drop the opacity of the top clip, and then you drag around on your timeline to see where they line up. So where do they perfectly line up? Then I'll bring the scale up to 105 on both clips, and that'll give me room to match the composition perfect. Then I'll find that point where they perfectly line up. I'll cut them there, and then I will overlay. It's so hard to like describe without showing it, but
we don't want to tell all the secrets. Just say
either way, add a
tell us
gradient wipe between them, and bring the softness down, and you'll be good. And it takes a ton of practice to get right, and like it's so incremental too. Like you're not just gonna do it the first day and be great at it. You have to do it over and over and over. Similar to the concept that I was talking to at the start of this video. It's like you have to put in your hours and your repetitions, or you're not going to be good at it. Yeah, I mean that's how I do those, and that's just
I was going to ask you. So, when I remember when I'm really just playing around with those here and there. I only do it when I already am booked for a Twilight shoot. So I'll do a couple extra shots because I'm already there for Twilight, and I'm not currently charging for it because I'm still kind of like playing around with it honestly. But one of the things that I did, and I wonder if it helps you guys if you do the same thing, is I realized that if you don't have the shot exactly correctly framed up, the one thing that'll save you is being able to like zoom in a little bit, like you're saying, the 105, right? Crop in a little bit so that you can line them up again. And one thing that I realize helps with that, obviously, is if you're trying to deliver in HD, maybe at least those shots, even if you only shoot HD all the time, you might shoot in 4K for those ones, so you've got more room to play with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You want to give yourself that flexibility because, I mean, I'd say 90% of the time I don't get it perfectly right. I get close, You know, I get pretty darn close, but it's never perfect. Like you do have to adjust it in editing, and it is good to give yourself wiggle room.
I've
Yeah.
seen the transition. It's like the whole screen shakes, like the whole
Oh yeah.
shot shakes,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it goes to the night, which I think is a really great way to do it if you're not good at it yet.
And that's yeah.
Hides a lot of the
That's the best way
imperfections.
to do it if you're not
Yeah.
very, because you
Because
can account for a lot of that error.
yeah, and the ones I've seen of your guys is they're like seamless. I mean, they just go and fade right into the,
Mm,
it's like, how do they do that? Now I
oh
know.
yeah. Oh
Thank
yeah.
you for
No,
Yeah.
explaining that.
I have to do the shake transition, and if you don't know, the shake transition is like a sleight of hand, like a magician would do. Like, look over here, so it throws you off just enough that you don't notice the lineup wasn't exactly the same, and you
Yeah.
can get away with it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's another thing too. Like outside of the technical space, there's so many different video techniques you see, and so it's like hard to kind of keep up with the stuff that's happening that you like, that you want to integrate and figure out how to do it, you know? But there's a lot of ways to create really engaging videos that don't have to be super crazy either. It's just like it's capturing the story that's in front of you and finding unique ways to do that. So like we follow the local project. We're really big fans of them, and some of their scenes are just static scenes where they probably just have it on a tripod and there's just like the grass moving. And so it just like
Mm.
disrupts the viewer's eye of like what they think they're gonna get and how to highlight a property in a unique way by just disrupting like what the flow is or what you think it's gonna be. So I mean, I hear a lot of feedback and it's funny because you want to create stuff that's really engaging, but for some people they're like, that's way too fast and crazy. It's like, well, let's talk about the intentionality behind it. And that's a big piece too, is like when you're talking to new clients, find out like what do you want to achieve with this? What audience are you trying to engage with? What is the purpose of this? Because it's not always about selling homes. Sometimes they want a cool video just for like the owners or the sellers. And so it's like, who's our audience, and then we can kind of shape the video style to fit that. And then we typically, look at a lot of reference videos of styles that are similar that have high engagement and stuff that we like, and then figure out how to like curate it around what we're trying to achieve.
So you will customize your style of filming and editing based on client.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we like to try to have, like we were talking about earlier, is like we like to have as much creative freedom as possible. So we don't want to like just tell them like, well, what kind of like tell us what video to shoot, but like we try to really understand more. And I think that's like we talked about last time, that's the mentality of like being a good partner versus just like being transactional. Like we want to learn more about what you want to achieve here so we can not only hopefully do it once, but make this something that was like better than what you expected, you know?
Yeah, and I think some of it's a tricky balance because you see all these cool things, and agents want the cool new things when they see it too. But I like your point earlier about using the first person drone stuff like where it makes sense and not just the whole video, because a lot of these things you can kind of lose the cinematic quality. Like you might see that drone in an action movie where it makes sense for that one action sequence, but a lot of time, the rest of the time, you're going to see real cool cinematic shots as well. So it is, and like a static shot with the grass
Mhm.
in the breeze. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to keep that cinematic aesthetic, I think that yeah, you probably do need to keep a balance of things. Otherwise, yeah, FPV all over the place or always shooting wide, it's gonna,
Yeah.
impact that final
That
video.
does bring up another good point too, though. So, like with anybody that is using drones, I think most of us are, there are like so many cool features that people don't know about, like right out of the gate. Like the waypoints is huge. That's a big time saver and consistency piece where you can, know exactly where those waypoints are, and you can do hyperlapses in there too. And so there's a lot of cool features that make your life a lot easier on the drone video side as well.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna say before too, because I do the transitions day to night. A lot of times I'm doing that with most of my video exterior I do with the drone these days. So
Yeah.
I was just like, good luck with your rocks on the drone transitions.
Yeah, and I mean, I do them with drone too. At this point, it's like, I mean, if I'm really in a crunch, I'll do the same thing. I'll get the drone up, and yeah, and I've been trying to incorporate more speed ramping. And back to what Tony was saying, at the end of the day, it's about understanding your client to a certain degree because everyone has preferences. I mean, one of the things I do a lot of the time before I even go on a video shoot, I look at their Instagram profile and see what they posted and what they like and what they don't like. And this goes to music too. Like when I'm tailoring music for each specific client, I do it all custom. I don't just like randomly pick songs. I look at what my client, has liked, what they've posted, what kind of music they use when they post. Like I dissect their profile. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it really takes 2 minutes to go to their profile, see what they like, and then make a video, similar to that. And we also have conversations around it, but
It's
it's
probably like a medical condition, but I like respect it and I like really appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, kind of is what it is. But yeah, I mean, like if you're working with a 85-year-old client who's been in the industry for 40 years and has used the same music for all those 40 years, what makes you think, something's going to be different? It's like at a certain point, you just know, like, okay, they're probably going to like something a little bit slower, a little more like a little more. I want to say basic, but
A
it
little
is
more
basic.
traditional. That's a
Yeah,
nice way to
there
put it.
you go. Thank you. So, and then yeah, you have a younger, let's say a flashier client, then you send them a video and be like, "What do you think of this?" And they're like, "Yes." And then you have like full reign. So, and yeah, I mean, it's really at the end of the day just understanding who your client is, what their preferences are. It is great to have creative freedom, but I
It's a
don't.
slippery slope. Like you don't want to ask for too much direction because then you could be picking out songs for 2 weeks, which we've done that before too. And
Yeah,
that's not the jam.
yeah,
And then you don't want to go too hard without like talking to them or showing them reference videos. We do that too.
right.
Like, hey, what about this style? Especially for
Mhm.
reels, because those are like more trendy and like we're looking for engagement. And so those, we're looking for like quick engagement. And so those
Yeah,
things are like, hey, what do you think about this style? We can replicate that. So
yeah.
What's your turnaround on your videos?
48 to 72 hours.
Okay.
it's weird.
And
It's like
then,
Yeah.
last day. It's weird.
We're trying to get that number down, but we're also chasing quality.
yeah.
So it's a fine balance. And I think all of our clients know at this point why we do 48, 72 hours
hmm
because we produce a product that not many other people do in our region. In Portland, I can only think of like two or three other people doing videos at a high level, kind of like we are. So yeah, they typically understand, and photos are always 24 hours. You know how it is, and
All right,
Yep.
stop the podcast. I have to interject here. Now, if you are ready to hop on board with HD Photo Hub, if you're ready to make a change in your business, you need to use our promo code, which is STS, because you're not only going to get 50 free credits, you're going to get 150 free credits, which is equivalent
What?
to 15 property websites and I think like 50 site activations. And okay, I know a lot of you already use another platform, but if you want to switch over because you just love what they have, like their marketing kit, the app, property website, all of it, they can help you get your old clients into the new system, and they can make that
Yeah.
seamless for you. They can help you set up your shopping cart. Like it can be a smooth transition, and they give discounts and stuff for bringing you over. There's some good stuff. They're good people. And Neal,
Yeah,
what
and
else? What
if you
else?
want to do the app as well, if you want to do the app like Rach and I have, it's only a one-time fee to set that up and they walk you through everything, which is amazing. If you mention our podcast, STS, they're going to give you 30% off, which is insane. Normally it's $1,000 with the discount. It's, $600-700. And see, I told you I didn't know math, didn't I?
700 now.
Wait, $2.
It's
No,
$2.
it's an amazing deal. So check it
Yes.
out if you're interested. But
Yeah.
we'll get back to the podcast.
Let's go.
So one thing that we've implemented recently, based on a couple interactions, is that we need the house to be vacant. So that's another pro tip for people out there. Like, if you want to make a really good video, you need the house to be vacant because people get in the way. It throws off your flow and it can cause, it takes twice as long when that's the case. And so we've implemented that, especially for like our higher end videos and stuff, like we need the house vacant because it's just otherwise it's going to take too long. So that's something to definitely like implement. And I think your customers respect it. It shows that you're doing it because you want to do the best job possible. And we can't do that with, dogs and cats and people in the way. So it's another
Yeah.
thing to talk about.
Totally. That's great
So
advice.
for your
Um,
scheduling
ahead.
then, for let's say you're going to do this the day to night stuff as well for your video. Two questions, I guess, scheduling and pricing. Are you guys accounting for, are you telling them how long do these people have to be out of the house for that kind of shoot? And then are you guys also pricing higher than the industry standard for what you guys are putting out? Because it sounds like you guys are putting a lot of extra work into this versus somebody who just shows up and does the same video every time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So for a while, we saw a huge influx of new clients all the time, and we tried to customize our packages to make the most sense for them. And then it became a smorgasbord of things, right? And so we've created we have a cinematic video, we have a cinematic or like a luxury package, which includes that and everything else pretty much. And then we have a signature luxury package. So that is the difference between the two different levels. At the higher level, the signature luxury it says like in the description, this is our highest quality product. This includes trendy and modern transitions, day to night transitions,
Relapses.
things like that. Yeah, time lapses, things like that. And
Yeah.
so we did that to like differentiate the highest level product. The cinematic is very, very close to it. It just we don't like guarantee we're going to do day to nights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because we had a big problem with people wanting those all the time. And so it became this other challenge. In addition to that, we had a couple clients that wanted like 2 or 3 reels and a cinematic video and a YouTube form video. And so I was like, okay, well, this happens enough. It tells us we have to create something new for that. So like our signature luxury package has photos, Matterport, 2 reels, a YouTube video, a cinematic video tour, drone, and I mean everything you could think of pretty much, and multiple.
And time on site for something like that. You know, when we first started doing it, it was around like 6 hours. We've gotten that number down to we could bust all that out in about 3.5 hours now. So and I guess that's not including if we have to come back, but if we schedule it right, you know, at like say we schedule it at 4:30 and the sun sets at 7:30, then we're good. The math adds up there, right, Tony? It's late.
Yeah, most of those,
I don't sound dumb, right?
because those have twilight photos too. So like our twilight
Or
parameters are around, like right now it's not bad, but like our twilight parameters around those type of things are 4 o'clock or later. What I would suggest if you're a single shooter and you wanted to do a package like that, I would probably
don't do it.
Well, I would ask if you can do it either in like 2 different sessions or have a longer time frame. I like the idea of like, could I come and do, your photos, Matterport, floor plan, whatever. So you have the ability to list it. Like you got what you need to list it. And then I can come back and do a video when I have the time to like focus on that. Cause it is a lot. I mean, we're really fortunate that we have 2 of us and we can like, I'm doing the Matterport real quick and we're like really good at our orchestration on site, but it's not easy by yourself at all.
Yeah, it's a lot when you're by yourself for sure. We all shoot by ourselves on our team. We don't ever do any shoots together. But after the last podcast, you kind of made me rethink that. I was like, oh, that could be nice to have 2 people on site and bounce ideas off of each other, collaborate a little bit, split services.
It's huge for the customer service part too. I mean, that's like, I want to,
I guess part of me too, why, and we mostly only do it for like the higher end clients. Like if we have a smaller package, we're not gonna bring 2 people out. It's usually luxury package and up, you get 2 of us. We do that too because, and you guys both, I know you guys know how exhausting it can be to do a full scale package just by yourself. And it's like a race, So like if you're sprinting at the start of the race, by the end of the race, you're going a fourth of the speed that you were going for when you started. So that reflects on the product too. So if you're dead, and even if you are a great shooter, but you're dead at the end of the shoot, you're not going to do the stuff you would if you were fully energized. You're not going to make that same quality as you would if you were fully energized. And that's been the biggest change for me working with Tony, is my videos are, I want to say like 3 times better than they were solo riding. So we're able to double down on our strengths, retain our energy, keep that the quality of the product super high. Because and that's also a big reason why I partnered with him, because I was just getting so exhausted. I saw the quality of my product starting to fade, and I'm like, I need to make a change.
And it's good when you like have dead batteries in your video.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. And so
my SD cards, he's like, here you go. I'm like, yes.
I got you.
But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of like my psychology behind it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great that you guys can do that. So you're like, you guys don't have to say your exact number, but I'm curious how much you're charging for just a standalone, like one of these time lapse with day to nights video, let's say on like 4,000 square feet.
And do you sell it as a standalone?
Yeah,
Uh,
we do. I think
so
the majority is packages, but like, yeah, we will do it. I think it's like
it's
50 or something.
it's our highest. I'll just give a rough number. Let's do a rough
Perfect. Yeah.
number.
You don't have to. I
Or
mean, we can
actually,
even leave this out if you don't want to add it in. I'm just curious because
no,
I know.
It's
I'll
different too. Like,
give
so we go off square footage. So we have 3 tiers for everybody, and then a custom quote for over 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
I
it's
feel
over
like
1,500. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's not, at the end of the day, you're gonna get what you pay for.
Oh,
And
100%.
so we don't really have backlash with our pricing. Like for that most expensive package, yeah, it's probably it's above industry standard for certain, but so is our quality. So
Mhm.
I don't think we're mispositioned or anything. I think we're right where we want to be. It makes sense for us. It makes sense for our clients, and that is the most important thing. And probably the people listening to this are in different regions. My advice to you guys is understand what people are charging in your region and what their quality is, and be very honest with yourself with where your quality is, and price yourself according to that. Don't try to overprice the market or undercut the market, because you're gonna lose. Like, be honest with yourself. Don't think you're better than you are.
it's an ongoing process. I'm always looking at our prices, trying to figure out like what we should cut out and what we should add and how we like what our formula looks like. Because you don't want to like run yourself ragged because you went cheap on something and then the quality suffers. Then you're all then you're screwed like three
Yeah.
different ways. So it's like
Another thing I did, and I think this would help a lot of people listening, is if you have a client that you're very close with and have a good relationship with, and they have been in the industry for a good while, they will share this information with you. They can get quotes from other photographers. They can see what other people are charging. A lot of people hide their prices. And if you do have a good relationship with them, just have the honest conversation. Say, hey, I think I'm getting really good. I think my quality is better than these guys next to me. Do you think I'm well positioned on pricing? And maybe add in like, this isn't, you're a legacy customer. Pricing will never change for you. I just want honest feedback, and that's something I did to get a good gauge of, okay, here's what I can charge. Hey, Basil.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean that's another strategy you can use to help determine what you should be charging.
I
I
like
like that. Yeah.
You just got that was classic upstaging, by the way. There's no way you can win against a cute little baby.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, so
Tony's
we
daughter just
also
dropped into the pod.
that's what I do for price objections. I'm like, hey, hold on 1 second. I gotta bring in a consultant here. Yeah.
Obviously, your pricing is, I mean, you said 1,500 for just the video portion, correct?
it
Roughly.
depends. It depends.
Okay.
I mean, a la carte, I think that's like top end almost.
It's probably a
But
little
honestly,
more
you're
higher.
you're obviously not having a problem selling these. Like you have a lot of clients that, I mean, you guys are producing beautiful work. So I think
Thank you.
you're doing something right. So don't doubt yourself for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot
I
of strategy that goes into it. Obviously, like you want to like top down sell with packages, to make sure that you're encompassing everything they need to like showcase the property at the highest potential. So we do a lot of packages, and I've customized the packages where, you've got an option for photos, video, floor plan, and then like we'll do a similar package that has Matterport because some people don't like Matterport and stuff like that. So we've got a couple of those, and then like these luxury packages are more focused on just all encompassing, like surrounding your customers with all the details and media they need to like really showcase the property and tell the story and cater to multiple learning styles. So we want to tell the story and lead it through the customer journey. So you have a reel that kind of gets them enticed to like look at the photos, and then they look at the photos and they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then you hit them with the cinematic and you're like, whoa, this is really cool. It's like a movie trailer for a home. And then you got the floor plan and the Matterport. It's like, what else do you need? Like, come buy this property. Let's go.
Right.
So that's the whole idea. And looking at the numbers, it just makes sense.
Yeah. And then two, you're building your personal brand. Like these clients are going to use this media to get more clients. And if they
Yeah.
show that you're doing all those services in that level of video, they're going to want to hire that broker because they do the best, right? They hire
Yeah.
the best in town,
I think that
especially
what we
luxury listings.
Yep.
Yeah, I think what we've
Yep.
struggled with the most, I would say, in our pricing and plans and all that kind of stuff is like the retainer deals that people want us to do for like social media stuff. I just haven't been able to hit that sweet spot on like what the price is for what they get. And that's just something we're gonna work on in the down season to figure out like what the magic number is, because it just feels like we end up doing a lot more work for a little less than we would.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, and it also, it's like, I think it's important to know what your business model is, or else you'll run yourself ragged. So I know a lot of guys here in Portland who just do photos and they do really well. And that's where they thrive and that's their thing. And that's great, more power to them. And that's their business plan. Like they don't want to do video and they have demand for photos and that's great. Not all agents want video. But for us, we're pushing really hard on the video front for social, YouTube, because I think in our minds, that is where everything's going in the future. Yes, there's always going to be demand for photos. Yes, there's always going to be demand for floor plans, for drone, but video is kind of a new wave. Like you're starting to see a lot of new things happening with video. It's kind of like the gold rush right now because we're selling. That's our main attract. That's how we attract majority of our clients, I'd say. Yes, our photos are amazing, and I think that plays a role. But what really stands out is our video work and the quality of the videos we're making, and that's what has been attracting a lot of people. Like the reels are selling like hotcakes. If you're not doing reels and photos aren't working great, then maybe it's worth a try. Like I said, like they are selling like hotcakes and not everyone can do it. Demand is high and inventory is low for people who can do high quality video. So
sorry to pivot. I just realized we forgot to mention one thing about the technical side, which we're kind of running out of time now. But not everybody has to do this, but we also do shoot in S-Log3, which creates a whole other level of technical expertise.
yeah.
And what
Yeah.
would you say is the biggest advantage for shooting S-Log3 then?
Colors.
I know obviously you're
The
retaining
depth of
details and
Colors and
colors, but
retaining detail. Yeah, so and this is where my perfectionist part of me comes in. Like I could probably turn more videos out if I just saw shot standard. But I notice these things when I watch it back, how much better the colors turn out and the detail turns out in the shadows.
And like a
I
real to life color, I would say. It looks exactly like it looks. Like there's
Yeah, and it is added work for sure, but it's also added quality. And this goes back to understanding your position in the market. Like if you're trying to create the best product in your region, then you want to do everything to create that best product. And that's not half-assing any part of your video work. So we shoot everything 4K S-Log3. On the drone, we shoot D-Log M 5.3K or 4K. Yeah, I mean I want to talk a little bit about editing too, but I don't want to bore anyone. But we want to start color grading in DaVinci Resolve and then moving those XML files to Premiere and After Effects. I'm not sure if you guys know about like Desire Media or X Media or Pixel Factory. They're all Australian companies in real estate that are considered to be the best in the world. And my whole thing is like, I want to look at what the people that are the best in the world are doing and how can we get close to replicating the quality. They're not shooting standard, they're not editing everything in Premiere. They are going the extra mile to make their product stand out from the rest. And that is our goal here. That's what we want to do. We want to be on par with some of the best in the country, and it's not easy. Like you have to do all the sort of stuff people don't really want to do for efficiency reasons. And it doesn't help our margins, but that goes back to the pricing. Like
yeah,
that is something that's still in the works that we still got to figure out, but we know where we want to be. It's just how do we get there?
Well, and it is challenging to explain it to a client. They're like, why don't you just like shoot the video and like make it, you're like, this is like such a detailed process that you have to go through to make this happen. It's not like we just bring out an old camcorder and we're like, oh, there's a cool
You don't
shot.
just use your cell phone, Tony, like I
Yeah.
do?
Well, that's another thing too. Like we're gonna have to get rid of the one-shot walkthroughs because every time we sell them, there's an issue, and it's not that they're bad. It's just people see our other stuff and they expect like
Mhm.
something cooler than that. I don't
Just
know.
do it on your phone. Who cares?
No, I would do that. I've done that. Like
Oh
most
my gosh.
like with the phone
I'm
gimmick.
gonna lose my mind here.
Every
Oh,
time I've done it,
it's
it comes back because they were price shopping, not quality shopping, and I have to try to explain it to them like 10 different ways, and so.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Okay, real quick, I do have a question before we close out here. Where do you find your music?
Oh gosh. So we have there's a couple different ways. So we use MusicBed a lot. MusicBed is, from what I've found, the best at finding music.
Music
There's
Bed, FED?
MusicBed,
B.
Oh, Bed.
BED.
Okay.
Artlist is great. I'm not in love with it, but yeah. So that, and then we have an Instagram chat with just the team that we send videos that we see on Instagram. They could be in real estate, they could be in weddings, any industry. We'll send videos that we find on Instagram that either we like the editing style, we like the song, we like the font, we like the transitions. And then what we'll do is we'll send it to that Instagram chat with just us, and then we'll write what we liked about the video. So maybe it's song, and I'll just write song. Or maybe I'll write flow, or I don't know, transitions, whatever it might be. And then, sometimes we'll show up to site and be like, I have no ideas. I have no creative juice right now. And I'll just go to that creative content ideas and I'll look through all these videos, and then I'll be like, oh, that's a cool way to do that transition. And then I'll do that transition. And I'll mix all these different factors of these videos into one video. And then I'll create a super cool video. So
Well, it's cool because you could replicate that, and when the song changes, then the transition changes, so you could actually like map out your shot list that way and still make it a cool, unique video.
do you guys know who, I think his name is Eric Davidson? Or is it, oh, Eric Visuals on Instagram? Have you seen his work?
Mm-mm.
What is the name again?
Eric Visuals on Instagram.
Yes. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's considered to be one of the best in the US, and his work is fantastic. Like, he is
Beautiful.
amazing. And I think I saw Studio 910, his name's Claudio, I think. He was talking about, and I think he mentioned Eric showed him this strategy. He'll put headphones in on site of the song he's gonna use for the video.
Hmm.
He'll listen to it on repeat as he's shooting, and that'll give him a good idea of, okay, here's the vibe I'm going for.
Wow.
And that's something I've done multiple times, is put that headphone in, just like listen to the song over and over. On the drive there, I'm repeating the song.
Or I just like sing you the song sometimes.
Yeah, or Tony sings it to me.
I like that version.
I think
Yeah,
that's really good thing.
and yeah, that just gives like a good guide on like, okay, what kind of vibe are we going for this video? And I think the way you shoot should be tailored to the song you're going to use. And that's how I find my best results.
I
Yeah.
can't get past the visual of Tony singing in your ear while you shoot. That's
Like a little
amazing.
tambourine, I'm like, let's do this.
So you guys are always picking the music before you shoot the house.
Not all the time, but I'd say like a good amount of the time, like especially if it's a big property, like a really cool property, then I will source that music before and know virtually like, I don't know, and that's why it's so hard to replicate across videographers, is because I have my own creative vision that I'm having trouble like teaching to other people, because it's like my mind, like I plan it out in my head. I know what I'm gonna do before I even get there. Like I look through the photos on Zillow, I look through on Redfin, whatever it is, I find the song and I'm like, this matches the vibe of this song. And that's
It is really hard because like for me, I can walk in and see any photo in a room, but I can't like do that with video. It's really hard to just be like organic with your videos like that. That would be like really challenging. You have to get some kind of an idea, unless you don't want the highest quality, then you're just going to do like a push in and like a turn and a push
yeah,
in.
and yeah, you can get away with. There's standard, just like there's standard photos, you're gonna shoot a lot of living rooms, like the same way every time. You're gonna have a 45-degree angle, a straight on. You're gonna have your angles, but with video, it's like it's abstract. It's like you don't just walk into a place, and for your wides, they're pretty general, but
And for a highlight video, it's
for
not like
yeah, for like a standard video, it makes sense, but you have those shots you get every time. But when you're trying to make like these custom videos that really stand out, there's a lot that goes into them. It's not just go in and point and shoot. It's
and Alex is super intentional with that too. So like he'll do a drone orbit, and then when it goes to the transition, it's transitioning to the same shot like movement. So it like
yeah,
your
so
brain
yeah,
like understands
yeah,
what's happening.
that's a great point. That is a great point. Like you want to match the shots together, and that is so if you're like Tony said, if you're doing an orbit that's going left to right, then you know it's going to transition into another shot. That's not going to be a straight push because that disrupts flow. So you want that next shot to be an orbit with the camera into a space. And so you match it all up. And these are things that you have to be thinking about on site. Because if you're not, it's going to be much, much harder to match these shots up with each other.
What
You
would you
guys are not allowed to look at any of my videos,
I
FYI.
feel like we talked about like I feel like we talked about some
Yeah, like-
stuff, but nothing at all. You know what I mean? Like I feel
What
like
did
we
you
like
say, Tony? Sorry, you got to talk a little louder.
I was just saying I feel like we talked about a few things, but like also nothing at all. Like we like
I know.
Yes.
toad
Oh, we
into the
could talk
water.
We can do
for
a part 2 and we can just get into
yeah.
all of the like,
What
walk me through exactly how you do it.
there
Teach me
there's
all
so
your
much
secrets.
more. Yeah, there's so much more. I do
So
want to ask one last question, and we'll wrap up for today. And maybe we will have you guys back in, talk some more about some more of these. But on just the category of music, I do want to ask, with all the trending music that people are using for reels specifically, and you guys are doing reels and selling like hotcakes, right? Are you guys still using stock music, or are you delivering, a version with no music so that they can add something, right? But I'm guessing you guys are not. And then if you are delivering something that's a more, branded song, if you will, I don't know what else to call it. How do you handle all that?
So for reels, like it's anything goes virtually. Like I've never heard of a copyright strike on a reel on Facebook, on Instagram. I can't say I've heard of one on YouTube. It's when you're doing the, longer format, like walkthrough videos. That's when you should be a little worried about a copyright strike. We just made that mistake. So we delivered a video with copyrighted music to a client that posted it to YouTube, and he got a copyright strike. And that was a big mess up. And luckily he was pretty cool about it, but I mean, that can't happen. So
yeah.
understanding these things are very important because there's no point in jeopardizing a relationship because we're the experts. We should know if, something's going to get copyrighted on a certain platform. With Reels, it's pretty much fair game. You can do any sort of audio, especially on Instagram. There's no copyright there. It's more that YouTube is like the biggest one. If we are going to do a YouTube video, we might just deliver an instrumental, from a song, just so we don't get copyright. We don't get our client copyright struck. But yeah, reels are fair game. We pull stuff from Spotify, SoundCloud, other Instagram reels where we see a song we like.
And you edit right to that song. You deliver it that way. It's not something that they add the song in Instagram, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Every
And
once in a while,
I'll occasionally
quick thing. Like I've done this a couple times where I just like if I have some cool photos, I'll just create a quick like little flicker reel where it like changes speed with the photos, and I'll be like just add a song to this, but like that's very minimal.
Mhm.
There's also a bunch of templates within Reels where you can put it together with a template with the music you want, and we'll sync it up to the beat for photos. And you can invite your clients as collaborators too, or
Yep.
that's
Yep.
a way to give them a boost.
Well, what are we going to talk about next time when we have you back then? What didn't you talk about that you're dying
Maybe
to
we
still
could do
talk
one,
about?
we could do one.
Tony's gonna sing to you guys.
Yay!
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Tony. One more time.
We could do one from PMRE.
Oh, I like that.
We could. We'd have to figure out traveling with these things.
We'll figure it out. We're good.
Yeah,
We can just do it. We can just do it with
You guys
let's
see
just do it with
Tony's setup. We can make it work.
we can just do DJI mics.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that would work. Yeah, we all have those. Bring your laptops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure out our next topic and make something cool. I also want to start doing this on our end too with our podcast, but I gotta find
Yeah,
something.
Tony, we have to have them on our podcast too.
Yeah, well, I reached out to I would like to do that. I also reached out to Upmarket. So if Upmarket's hearing this, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, I can put in a
Yeah.
good word for you. I have to apologize for my energy level today before we sign off. I started a 16-day challenge, which is basically like a cleanse with a workout plan attached to it. And literally my breakfast was half a cantaloupe and 6 ounces of V8. And my lunch was vegetables and an apple and V8. And then dinner is 2 cups of plain lettuce, vegetables, and a V8. And I've done that.
Oh
And
my
no
God.
coffee. No coffee. And only 16 ounces of water all day and no coffee. And I'm like, I drink almost 80 ounces of water a day. So I'm like sitting here dying. I'm like, okay, tomorrow I get coffee and tomorrow I get hard-boiled eggs. It gets better. The first 2 days just suck. So I'm on day 2. I'm like,
Why are you doing it?
just to really cleanse my gut and to feel better. Like I feel so bogged down every single day.
Yeah.
And my gut is not right. Like, and I just eat like crap. So this just takes all the toxins out from all the processed foods you're eating. It's supposed to just help kind of reset everything. So, and then there's a continued phase 2 as well, where you shred all of your fat or lose all of your fat, and then you start building on and adding muscle. So,
Oh my
and adding
God.
more protein and yeah, but you can't even use salt and pepper on your hard-boiled eggs. You can do scrambled eggs too, but yeah, it's tested me a lot in the last 2 days. I'm not gonna lie. Like I wanted to have coffee so bad tonight. I was like, I need coffee to get through this podcast. I'm not gonna be alive.
Yeah, I
You
feel like
guys,
I'm like making coffee before I even know I'm making coffee in the morning. I'm just like come downstairs and like put it in there and it's like
I'm like
So-
3 to 5 cups a day. So I've had a headache for 2 days. It sucks, but I get coffee in the morning and I'm super pumped. So anyways, but you guys did all the talking, so thank you. This was great to have you
Yeah,
guys.
sorry
on.
if I rambled.
Not at all. You didn't ramble at all. Everything you said was so valuable. And I think what you guys are building, just keep going, keep doing it because it's unique. Not everyone has the aspiration and the drive to actually be the best. And you guys do. So just keep doing what you're doing. People are going to pay for
Well,
it.
and it's really great to hear people talking about something that isn't a race to the bottom. I feel like that's all new real estate media people are doing is trying to come up with something cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can do that, right? But it's also nice to know that no, you could price things higher and you could do things differently as well. And there are people who will pay for it because I think that's
Yes.
the fear that they have is that I can't charge more.
Yep.
Well, if you are giving more, you can find the right clients who will pay more for that because they do understand and respect the quality that you guys are delivering, and you guys are delivering a lot. Yeah.
That's so true.
So
That
if you
is
want to
so
follow
true.
these guys on Instagram, again, it's mosaicstudio.us or check out their website. They've got incredible work.
It needs some work. The website needs some work. Go
Yeah,
to our
thanks.
Instagram.
All right.
Go to Instagram. Go to Instagram.
And we'll definitely be in touch soon and we'll figure out the next one.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you both for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.